Hello there and welcome back to my channel, and finally today I have had the delivery of my Scorpion exhaust. I'm desperate to get it on the car because I know it's going to sound awesome, but the weather outside today is really bad. It's really windy, you might be able to hear it. It's now peeing down with rain, but I'm still going to go for it. I really want to get this out. If I can't fit it today, I'm going to have to wait another sort of 2 to 3 weeks to be able to fit it. So I'm going to clear the front of my garage as best as I can. I'm going to get the back of the car into the garage so I'm out of the rain. Get it up onto my ramps. Get the front jacked up as well. I want to make as much space under there as I can. I don't want to be messing about in a tight space. If I can get my car up on my wooden blocks and the front up to the same height, I'm going to have a good sort of 700 or 800 mil under there, which is a massive amount of space. Should be able to do any work I ever need to like that. So I don't know if you see here, that's how the box comes. I even unboxed it. I've literally took the top off. I wanted to make sure I had the right tips in there really more than anything, which I have. I'm also looking after my mum's dog. I don't know if you can see it. Roxy! So she might be pottering about as well, but I'm going to flip the camera around. I'm going to time lapse me clearing all this, getting the car up, and then as soon as I've got the car up, I'll probably have everything unboxed on a table, and I'll run through what's in the box, and then we'll have a look under the car. I'm going to have as much detail in this as I possibly can about cutting it. There's two guys I think I've seen doing it on their driveways at home, but there's nowhere near as descriptive as what I'm going to be. I don't want to make the video too long, but I'll speed up things where I can, but I will talk through every single thing. There's been a massive debate going on one of the groups I'm in on Facebook at the moment about how to get the tips level on the Scorpion exhaust. Sounds like people have been having a bit of trouble, but there's a lot of adjustment on these exhausts, so I think probably the issue they're having is they haven't adjusted the pipe back further. They're trying to adjust the tips at the front, but you probably need to twist it back further down the exhaust to get it to sit right at the tip end. But let me get mine on, and I'm going to make sure mine sits perfectly. So right, here we go, let's go. Okay, so as you can see, I got the car up on the ramps, had a bit of a tidy up. I'm actually quite happy with how I've managed to get this up. I've only got the front up a little bit. There was no need to get it up to the same level as the rear. There's plenty of space under there. I've had it crawl under, and then you saw me unboxing this Scorpion exhaust. So let me just run through what we've got. So you've also got the main back box. This is the this piece is the bit that goes onto the GPF. This is the bit that twists around the rear axle, and then obviously the back box. This is the valve system. So in there you can see this flips open. I think they've been having trouble with these on the Airtec exhausts, but I'll make sure this is sort of maintained however long I think that needs. Just to make sure it goes freely. I mean, that is as free as you like at the moment, so I'm guessing they're on some sort of bearings in here. I've just checked on the car, and the exhaust valve always opens when you turn the car off. So when I fit the module on, which fits on the top here, I'll make sure that's fitted in the open position. So I think that closes when you turn the ignition on. You get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 Jubilee clip, well not Jubilee, exhaust clamps for the exhaust. Now there's 2 different sizes. There's 3 of these size and then obviously 4 of the other. I think that's because the bore sizes are slightly different here and there and how it's clamped on, but I'll sort of suss that out as we go through. You get, obviously this is the conversion pipe from the standard size to the the Scorpion size. I've moved the black tips out of the way for a minute so I don't get scratched or damaged, but I'll have a closer look at them in a little while. And then you get 3 rubbers, which I'm guessing are stiffer than the standard ones. I can only see 2 mounting points here for the rear box, and there's no other mounting points in here, so I'm guessing I'm going to have to change one on the system further back, but I'll have a look at that in a bit. And then you obviously get, well, you also get this little clip. This is for, this goes on here somehow, so for making the valve work, but once I've stripped it down I'll suss out how that works. You get a guarantee here, which is says I've got to register within 28 days of receiving the exhaust, so I'll do that later on tonight. And then what you get is here, you get, I've seen this on the internet already to be fair, you get this, which is an assembly guide, and another part of that which is just sort of talking you through what to do. It's pretty obvious what I need to do. The main thing is getting this cut right on here, but I'm gonna measure what it says on here, and I'm gonna offer everything up in position before I cut anything, just to make sure I'm happy before I cut, because obviously you only get one chance at this. I've purchased a exhaust clamp or exhaust pipe cutter. I'll show you that now if I can find it, which is this. It's just basically wraps around the exhaust like that, clamps onto here like that, and then in there little cutting wheels which will cut the exhaust. This is only a cheap crappy one off Amazon. I'll put a link to this below. I'm not sure if it's going to work very well, but regardless to that, it will score where I need to cut. I've got plenty of other tools I can use to finish cutting, so I'll worry about that as and when. So I want to reposition the cameras, get some lights under the car, and we'll run through where I need to cut and how I think this all fits together. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is just disconnect the exhaust valve. So here you can see my hand, this is the end of the exhaust tip, so I've got right close in looking through the top, and then this piece here that you can see is the exhaust valve itself, and this particular part here is the cable that powers the valve. So I want to connect this first, because I know I'm like, I'll forget to do this later on, and then this will be hanging here just off the bloody cable, and I don't want that. So I'm not sure how this clip works, but it's a matter of feeling around, pushing a few bits, giving it a wiggle, and see what happens. So let me just show you on here. All I did was push this little button here and wiggled it, and it come undone. So as far as, I'm going to tuck that up out of the way somewhere, probably in this heat shield for now, like that, and that's out of the way. Right, so let's have a look under the car now and sort of suss out what we're going to do next. Right, okay, so I've moved halfway down the exhaust. So the axle, this is the rear joining axle here, this bit here, exhaust. This is the back box, just out of shot here, and then this is the bit that comes over the axle, and this is where you need to do your first cut. The main GPF is still back that way, but I want to do my test cut here, because this bit doesn't matter so much, because this piece has still got to be cut off that goes back this way. So I'm going to cut. I'm going to try my tool out on here first, see how well that cuts, and then if that cuts fine, I'll be measuring and cutting the back bit with the same thing. But I just want to see how this works. So all I know you need to do is to wrap this around here, like so. Get it. I need to get on the next one. Just to get. There we go. So just position it where you want. I want to get. So what you need to do is to get it in the middle of this as much as you can. So if you ever want to put your stock exhaust back on, you can put a sleeve on. You can put a sleeve on here, and you're good to go. So to me, that looks fairly square. It's hard to judge under here. It's fairly square, nice and straight. I'm just going to gently start twisting this. So there you go. That actually worked far better than me trying to hacksaw it, grind it, whatever, multi-tool, anything. I had a few ideas, but plan A worked perfectly. I think I want to do the other cut while I'm under here, but I need to get a tape measure and measure it, saying it's 80mm off that bracket this way. So I'm gonna grab the other piece of pipe that goes onto that, and a tape measure and a marker, and I'll move the camera and we'll have a look. Right, so I've got to be 80mm back from this bracket here. So I've got to mark an 80mm mark now. Back from that bracket. I'll do another one here. So that's where I think I need to cut. So let's get this on here. Okay, so that is one perfect cut on there, to be fair. I'm more than happy with that. So let's get the back box out now, and then I'll probably just put all this lot side by side and you can quickly see what we got. So. Right, okay, so back box now. We've got a rubber mount here, and there's one in here. I'll just hopefully I can just pry these off, but I don't know. Okay, so I've got the back box is now off. Bit of WD-40, a bit of a wiggle, jobs are good and makes all the difference. So I'm just going to twist this up, because if you look in there, the valve is open at the moment. It's hard to see in there, but that valve is definitely in the open position. So I know that this actuator is in the open position. So what I've got here is a 10mm socket. I'm We'll take this off and then see how it fits onto the Scorpion back box. Right, so that's what it looks like. I'm not going to try and twist or turn anything because I don't want to move the position of that. I'll put it up there on the table. Now that valve in that exhaust, you can hear it, is now moving freely. So that's what will be happening on the actuator on there. So let's have a look at this now. So this has got to be in the open position, which is that. Now this clip fits somehow, and then this fits on there like that by the look of this. So you take these off. So that spring, and actually if you see that now, look, the two bits which line up, I don't know if I see better on there, these two bits here line up perfectly. So where is the spring gone? Right, so I don't know if it goes that way or that way. Look at this, here it goes. So I think that goes in there, like so. That goes on there, like so, and then that fixed in together like that. And I think that is exactly how it fits on there. Okay, so that's that assembled. So next thing I need to do is to change the rubber mount near where we've cut the pipe off. So let's do it now. Right, so I just thought I'd do a quick side by side before we go and change that rubber mount. So this is what they look like side by side. The muffler isn't the same shape as the stock. The valve does go onto the same side pipe. I think the Airtec one actually is on the other side, but I can't be sure. The bends are slightly different in the way they come out here. This and that are slightly different, but it must be because of the shape difference of the box. This seems to be higher here and here, so obviously they've tweaked it to make it work. But all the mounting points look the same, in the same position. If I line that one up there, that's in line with there. Yeah, so they are slightly different, but I think that should fit perfectly. I've not heard anyone having any issues with knocking and whatnot, so I'll just swap these over and we'll put the other part up, the main part. So obviously this is the bit I've cut out. This is the bit that joins onto the car. As you can see, thickness of that pipe here is that thickness there, so the cut off is about bang on where it needs to be. That's pretty much everything. So all I need to do now is to change that rubber, work out what clips go where. It's pretty obvious which ones will fit over what. I'm not going to tighten anything up. I'm going to wiggle it all around, get it all in the right position. I'm going to mark this so I know where the top is, so it's the same shape as this, which is pretty much so this symbol's on the side there. That's got to be on the top. and that's pretty much it. Right, let's go into the car again. Right, so just before we go back and cut the next piece, this is the section that goes on first, and this is the conversion piece. This is obviously the size, so this goes in here like this. This is the size, the new size, and that the old stock exhaust fits inside this, so you can see there's a slight size difference, so this is a lot bigger. Now what I like to do, I'm going to put this in and fix this because there doesn't really need to be a lot of adjustment here, but what I always like to do when I'm joining pipes together is to sort of roughly measure what it is. Say this bit here is where it changes, where it receives this piece. Now what I like to do is to measure to roughly the edge of that, just a little bit back, because you're never going to get it all the way tight. So as long as I can get that in 55mm there, come around a bit, 55mm there, that means as long as I can get in 50mm, we're good. But so what I'll do is I'll mark with a pen. If I mark 55mm, I know I'm never going to get it all the way into 55mm, but I know that I'm somewhere close if I can get it, and I'm in a snug then. I don't think this is that critical, but to me, I'm just a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to things like this, and I just wanted to make sure. So you can see I'll put marks just all the way around there. Let's see how close I can get that in to that. Yeah, you see. There you go. See, you've got to be quite. So this is the problem we're going to have on this exhaust system. If we want everything snug, you're going to have to do a bit of tapping to get it there. Now this is, I'm not saying this is what everyone's problem is with the alignment fittings, but if you haven't got these pushed all the way in, these are made probably off a Ford drawing design. So that's how, or they take their stocks off, and they'll, the guys that design these will get these pretty much bang on. So personally, this is only my personal opinion, if you haven't got all these joints home properly, potentially this could be where the alignment issues are coming from. But let me see what problems I get on the way, and we'll go from there. So I know now that that is as close as I'm going to get that all the way into there. Right, let's turn the camera and do the next bit. Right, so this is the rubber I need to change to this one. So this one has got no give in it hardly at all, and this one loads. So let me see if I can wiggle this one off first. From experience, I need a little bit of WD-40 up there, a bit up there, a bit either side. That's made that a lot stiffer already. So next step is to get the next bit joined on to here. Right, so as you can see, I just marked on here where the pipe joins on to. I've got the pipe here. Now I know this number, this plate here needs to be on this side, so it goes in there like this. So what you might forget to do is to get these clips in position. Not sure how I'm going to want that yet. I think that'll be alright hanging down, to be fair, because this is lower than where the exhaust is going to be. Anyway, I'll worry about that in a minute. So So I'm going to gently slide this onto the pipe. It's quite a tight fit. Very tight fit, to be fair. It might even need a bit of a persuasion. Oh, I don't know how it's going. There we go. So that's actually gone past my mark, which is there. Now I can see why now, because there's no shoulder for this to butt up against, so we can change the length of this as we go through. So I'm going to leave that as it is for now. Right, so I've marked this again. This is actually 70mm on there, so we've got a bit more adjustment here, so we'll see what we're like when we get to the other end. But put this clamp on so it's on there. I'm trying to keep all my nuts lined up as well. I'm a bit of a, like I said, a bit of a freak like that. So obviously we know that bit pokes up there and that fits on there, so let's give this a bit of a, see, that's just sliding back up there, so it's going to go back to that clamp. So right, that's okay there. We're about 10mm off this line here, but I'm not going to worry about that yet. Let's get the back box in place now. Right, so just before I put the back box on, I'm just going to get these rubbers up so they're in place. There's two on. I think that's going to be a bastard getting this up there, to be fair, but there we go. Alright, so I've got the rubbers on here now. I'll feed the exhaust up and see what we're planning. So what the plan is here. I think it's going to be a bastard, to be fair. On your own. That's put together quite nicely there. So let's see if I can get these hangers in now. Alright, so to me it looks like it's on. So what I'm going to do is just nip these clips up as everything's in this position. Now I can assess the fitment up the top there. So because by doing this, I don't know if the camera's showing at the moment, makes a massive difference up that end. And this is where people saying the alignment issues are. I can tell already this is where they're struggling. Because what I might do is just put the tips on and leave this loose and show you guys where people might be going wrong, because I can see an issue straight away. So let me just flip the cameras around before I tighten this up. Right, so I don't know if you heard when I was under the car there, because I didn't realise the camera was quite away from where I was talking. I was just wiggling the exhaust around and I could see a massive issue that people are having, and why. It's because nothing's tightened up properly down that end. Now I've still got everything completely loose, and this all moves loads at the moment. What I'm going to do is just put the valve part on and then get the tips on, and I'm going to start gradually tightening things up and make sure everything's in line as we go. I think that's where people are sort of making assumptions that things are right when they're not. Now that's on there, lovely. Now another thing I've noticed is if you push this on too far, the valve will hit the main exhaust So what you don't want to do is to have that pushed on way too far, and it's going to cause you an issue. Now I can see now that these are pretty much lined up perfectly here now on the front here. I'm going to put the tips on, and then keep tweaking everything until I can get it to look nice on here. So grab the tip. Right, so to me that ain't a million miles away, to be fair, and I don't want these sticking out too much. That looks sort of where it should be. Yeah, so let me move the camera back a bit. I'm going to time lapse the next bit and just keep tweaking it, trying to get it to look exactly how I want it to look. And then if I find any issues out, I'll sort of talk through them once I've done. So let me just move the cameras back a bit again.
Perfect.
Okay, so I've got that pretty much bang on. It's took me a good 45 minutes, I reckon, to tweak that, but that doesn't hit on anything. I think it's there. So next thing is, all I've got to do now, I'm just going to double check everything's tight and connect the valve. So it's all just backwards from what the valve's just literally a plug in, so I'm not going to get a close up of that. So I'll just time lapse again, plug the plug in, check everything's fit, and then I'll set up everything for the first start. So let's see what happens. Right, so everything is done, tight, and it doesn't seem to hit anywhere. I'm happy with the gaps here and here. I've connected the valve up. I think it's time to start the old girl up, so let me squeeze through, get down, and I'm just going to start it up. I'm not going to rev it. I'll probably just push the mode button to make sure I can hear the valve shut and close. Make sure there's nothing on the dashboard, and then I'm going to crawl underneath and just check for any leaks and stuff. So I'm not going to cut in at any of this point. I'm just going to leave the cameras rolling and get under there, check it all, switch her off, and then I'll catch up with you then. So let's just have a go. Right, so I've just got the car off the ramps, got it all back down, took it for a spin up the road. The weather, it just started peeing it down, so I didn't want to get my cameras wet. So you probably saw on the time lapse I was messing about with the where the main joint was. It was blowing a bit, so I took it to bits. Refitted the clamp in a different position slightly, and it seems to have done the trick. So there's no blows at all anywhere. You got a lot of condensation, but you'd get that anyway when it was running. The water was dripping off, but that's just normal with stainless. I've readjusted the tips again, and I think they're perfect, to be fair. The gap here is identical. They look level. They don't stick out too far because I didn't want them to. Just more than happy with how that looks. I would put some sort of some slow-mos of this in, but there's crap outside. I need to get it cleaned up here and get in the shower because that was quite dirty in there. So hopefully this helped some people. Just wanted to say, really, if you were having alignment issues with these tailpipes on these Scorpions, and probably the same with the Miltecs and maybe the Cobras, I don't know, but just go under your car, slacken all the Jubilee clips, or all the exhaust clips, and just play about with it. I did play around with mine for probably a good 45 minutes to an hour. Just keep tweaking it around, tweaking it here, there. You can get it right if you just play about with the joints. It's all about the joints. There's no rattles, there's no nothing on this. When I just driven it and I took it up the road and give it the full beans, and nothing rattles at all. It's like having an OEM exhaust on there. There's no vibrations, nothing. So you just need to take a little bit of time, and I think you'll solve any of the issues you've got. It's awkward when you're under the car doing what you're doing, but I think it obviously easier for me because I get mine quite high. If you're just doing it off axle stands, I don't know, it'd be a lot more awkward than I found it. But I've just proven that you can fit a stainless steel exhaust on your driveway on your own, with no help, no issues. It probably would have took me 2.5 hours if I weren't filming, I reckon. But I've probably been 4 hours, but I've been messing about the camera, here, there, moving things around, stuff like that, but lights and stuff. So just, yeah, give it a go yourself. If you like what I'm doing, just like my channel, It goes a long way and it helps me. I think my next sort of big plan is to get this dynoed now, so be interested to see what power I'm getting. So I'm now going to try and ring up and see if I can get it booked up for next week. The guy that I'm going to see said that I'm allowed to go and film there as well. He'd be quite interested to put stuff on his Facebook page, so I just need to meet up with him again before I announce where I'm going, but it'll be local to me anyway. So with that said, like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll hopefully see you on the next one. Cheers.